I would like to welcome everybody. And thank you very much for joining us today. This is basically the second big tasting that we are organizing. We have today 4 producers. I am going to share my screen with you, and I ask all of you to please mute yourself because at the moment I'm hearing myself talking. So if you could do that, that would be great. And thank you very much for that. That's lovely. So just give me 1 second. Where is it? Here we go. So here we are. Okay, so this is our tasting today. There's many of you, so I'm going to simply do a very, very brief introduction about top selection, and we can get cracking. So those of you who know us, you will know that I founded the company 20 years ago. So actually it's going to be 21 years soon in July. And thanks to many of you, we have now, even on this call, people from the retail, from restaurants, private clients, corporates. And thank you to many of you who are sitting behind the screen, somewhere hiding. You have been part of the SWA, the Sommelier Wine Awards, and you have the kindness to give us the award of Fine Wine Merchant of Great Britain 2018, 19, and 20 unparalleled so far in the UK. And as I wrote it at the bottom, because there is no competition in 2021, I selfishly claim 2021 as well. So I claim ourselves to be still remaining Fine Wine Merchant of Great Britain this year as well. So what is going to be today on the show? It is basically, hold on, I need to admit some people. Oh, here you go. And that's it. So I also would like to let everybody know that we are recording this show. And if I can manage to go to the next one. So this is the menu for today. We are having 3 UK premieres. One is our launch of the Gutowski Rosé. So Aline Gutowski will be the first one to come on the show, followed by Château de Trianon and Pavillon de Trianon. And that is going to be done by Dominique Ebrard's son, Timothée Ebrard. So you're going to get the next generation. Then we have Alves de Souza Abandonado, which will be the first time 2017 vintage that's going to be shown in the UK. And there was an absolute world premiere, which no one has ever actually tried the Cabinet 2020 outside of Egon Müller's house. So you will be the first people in the world, before any journalist or anyone, to try the 2020 cabinets straight from the bottling line, literally. So without further ado, I'm not going to hold anyone back. We have usually 20-minute slots for every winemaker. And I ate a little bit into Aline Gutowski's, but doesn't matter. We can get a bit longer. The only thing I can tell you is at 17:30, the show ends because I'm getting my vaccine at 18:20. So that's the deadline. So anyway, all right. So Aline, you are now on. So please, let's go.
Okay, thank you, Akash. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Aline, the founder of Maison Gutowski, producer of Rosé Côte de Provence. I would like first to thank you, Akash, for giving me the opportunity to do such a big tasting, first time for me, especially on Zoom. And I also would like to thank Guillaume, who introduced me to you. Just to give you a brief background, I'm not coming from the wine world, wine family. I've done this much more by passion. I was born and grew up in south of France, then did my studies in Switzerland and started a career in banking. And after a few years of working in this industry, I was searching for something a little bit more tangible, more down to earth, and that's why I decided to go back to my origins and having a daily life driven much more by passion. So rosé came to me as an obvious choice, and I started the adventure. It was 5 years ago. The idea of Maison Gutowski was to have, and is to have, like a fresh and delicate rosé typical from Provence, but to have something more with a little bit more character and volumes, to also pair with gastronomy, because I think that there's still a good place to have on the wine menu on gastronomic restaurant for rosé. So we working on plot selection. The idea was really the best suitability between typicity of soils and grapes variety. We're working on with 4 grapes variety, majority of Grenache, Cinsault, Syrah, and one of my favorites is Rolle, a little bit of Rolle to have this roundness. For the soils, we have the chance to have a big diversity. We are based on the east part of the Provence, around Massif des Maures, and thanks to this massif, we have a big diversity. We are working with schists, soils based on schist, which is quite good for Syrah, for example. And we also working on clay and lemon soils. So you are tasting the 2019 because we were not ready with the 2020. It was my choice because for the fermentation, especially for the last part, we take a little bit longer compared to other typical rosé, Provence rosé. So for the fermentation, there is no malolactic fermentation, and we work with a temperature-controlled stainless tank, and we adjust the temperature to have exactly our targeted profile. Meaning that we wanted to have something with a kind of complexity. So you will have a floral nose, and on the aroma, it will be based much more with white peach, citrus, and all the botanical flavor that you can find in Provence. After this first fermentation, the last part is really our specialty. Specificity, sorry, not specialty. For the lees aging, it takes a little bit longer. So we wanted to have a longer lees aging to bring this texture, this complexity to the wine, to have a little bit more roundness on the palate.
And any oak, in terms of oak aging, what do you do with the oak?
Oh, it's sorry, what did you say?
Oak, the barrique, en termes de vieillissement.
It's for the first fermentation, it takes only 15 days, and then for the lead aging, it's around 2 to 3 months, and it's on. But it's not.
Not an oak.
No, it's only stainless tank.
Stainless steel. Okay.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. In terms of, I see that there is question regarding the hectares. So we are now working on 15 hectares, but it can be adjusted because we're working on plot selection. So we never take the whole part of the plots. so we can grow up.
Okay, that's very nice. And so, what
Thank
made
you.
you get out? What made you get out of banking? Because it's kind of a crazy jump to be in banking and then decide to go into the wine industry. You know,
Alcoholism, definitely.
alcoholism. Yeah, right.
No. Wine passion. No, as I said, it was just to have something more to work on a product. Wine was really a passion, and I would like to go back to south of France. So I always get unheard on wine, so that's why I go back to I went on the wine industry.
So, are you from the south of France?
I am from the south of France. Yeah. Born and grew up there. Yeah, lucky me. Oh yeah, sorry. I see that there is a question regarding farming practices. We working on sustainable agriculture. I convinced that it's really important that our practice can add an importance for the next generation. So we pay attention to on how we treat the soils. And for example, when we're talking about the clay salts, it's difficult to treat them with copper. So that's why we pay attention on sustainability, sustainable agriculture.
Okay. Nice.
And then I would say that in terms of the attitude and the packaging and the way we will try to communicate it would be much more like urban style. So I like to work on something on balance. So I mean, it's something that we're practicing for the vinification, especially with the liaging, to have texture but not too much fat or flabby characters. And this is something that I tried also to apply to the label of the wine, to have something really minimalist.
So I just would like you to please tell us in few words the way you make rosé wines. I know many people here are all experts, but I discovered it in the past when you actually speak to people that very few people realize that Champagne is one of the regions where you can actually blend red wine with white wine to make rosé. And can you just explain how you do it?
So first we harvest during night to avoid any oxidation. And then it's pressed directly. That's why we have a light color. And how do you say? So we press directly and we stir everything. And for the first fermentation, we try to be on temperature around 15 degrees, just to have this complexity in terms of flavor and not to. So I was saying that harvest at night to avoid any oxidation, and then directly press. That's why you don't. We have this really light color, and then for the fermentation, we do it at 15 degrees in order to have all the flavor of each grape, and doesn't want to get it to do it lower to avoid to have these banana flavors that you can find sometimes in rosé. I mean, this is something that I don't like those, so I don't do it on my wine. And there is no malolactic fermentation. And we go then on the liaging, and after, of course, there is the blending. And so on our side, yes, we have a little bit of white wine coming from the grape variety. So it's less than 10%.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very nice. Are you trying to become organic or bio?
No. As I said, it's not that I don't want. I mean, this is something that we are working on, but as I said, I'm more conscious about treating the soil properly. So as we have a big part of clay soils, it's difficult to treat it with copper, which is normally what you do in on organic certification.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that we are still looking for, but it won't be soon.
So we're drinking the 2019. How is 20 shaping up for you?
Oh, really good. We have definitely on the same profile. It will be much more expressive on the nose, on the flavor, but you will have the same diversity. And what I like on my wine is that it definitely evolves a lot during the year, meaning that you have the freshness and flavor at the beginning of the season. And we try to work pretty well on the vinification, not pretty well, but in a certain style to still be able to drink a wine after 1 or 2 years. And this is why I would like, I ask you to test the 2019 and not the 2020.
Well, I hope the wine traveled well. So we try to do our best to fill it up to the rim and add some azote gas to make sure that it doesn't, it doesn't get oxidized when it gets there. So any comment would be appreciated, just to make sure that we have done a good job in bottling these 1,100 little bottles. So
yeah, and one thing that I would add is that I know that it seems to be crazy sometimes, but most of the people are drinking rosé with ice cube, and this is something we are. I mean, this is something we take into consideration by doing our wine. So it won't be shot by temperature.
Well, sometimes it happens that people drink it with ice cubes, but it usually happens with countries which is very hot. In the UK, it doesn't get that hot. So, I mean, having said that, during the first lockdown, it was 38, 39 degrees. So it was it was warmer here than it was down in the south of Spain. But here we go,
Okay.
All right. So, okay, it's showing well. Great conditions. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment.
Well, thank you for that. And now I'm going to do the technical side of it, and I'm going to unmute Timothée Ebrard. Here we go. Ask to unmute. If I can. There you go.
Hi, everyone.
Well, welcome, Timothée.
Hi everyone.
Let's move on to the next screen. Château de Trianon and Pavillon de Trianon. So the only thing I'd like to say, some of you were not here in the beginning. This is the, together with Gutowski and Château de Trianon and Pavillon de Trianon, these are two new producers for us. Even though Timothée's father and I, we go back a long way. It's going to be 28 years this year that we've known each other, since 1993. And at that time, he was making wine at Château Cheval Blanc and owned, together with his family, Château Cheval Blanc. And Timothée was just a sweet dream. And so he can't be with us today, Dominique, who is here on the left, you'll see. But Timothée will do him honor, I'm sure. So
I will try to.
Let's go and present your family's estate.
Hi everyone, thank you very much for being here. I'm very happy and pretty proud to tell you a bit more about our story and our wines. So first of all, what is and who is Château de Trianon? Is this man, my dad, Dominique Ebrard, who brewed this winery 20 years ago after our family sold, unfortunately, Château Cheval Blanc. but he was looking for a new project, and instead of just buying just a chateau where everything was done, he rather just start from the beginning and creating his own story. So that's why he brought Chateau Trianon from scratch. And after 20 years of reconstruction of the entire vineyard, we are pretty happy about the results. And now we can have some nice ambitions. So we are in process to be Grand Cru Classé for the next classification, so in 1 year. And I'm sure like everything is going to be good, because so far we are kind of considering as the Grand Cru who challenge the Grand Cru Classé in Saint-Emilion, so it's pretty exciting. So what makes Trianon Trianon? It's up just the previous slide. Sorry, Akosh, for about the blending. I would like to say a word about the blending. Yes, the blending. So as you may know, on the right bank of Bordeaux, it's mostly Merlot, Cabernet Franc, Cabernet Sauvignon, and we have a touch of Carmenère. As you may know, the Carmenère used to be pretty common at the beginning of the 20th centuries, but they stopped to growing it because it's pretty tough to grow and it's a late harvest. But we still have like few percent. It's really interesting to work, to play with, because it's just bringing some spices and some beautiful colors for the wine and beautiful tannins. And so my dad and Alize, our winemaker, love to just playing with just few percent of this beautiful grape varietal, and we're pretty happy to put this the Carmenère in highlights.
Right.
So the next slide, our environmental COVID commitments. It's really important for us to try to do our best for producing the most eco-friendly wines. So far we are to label the high environmental value, level 3, which is the highest level, and also ESO 1401, and those labels are pretty it's pretty complicated for us, because it just like makes us like more work, but it's necessary. It's absolutely necessary, and our goal is, as I said, producing the most eco-friendly one as possible. So we keep going.
So what does it entail, this level 3 compared to level 2 or level 1?
Is more regulation about the wine, the product we buy it for the vines. It's everything is more pushy. Is more I can say it's
are the products more environmentally friendly as you
exactly
go up level?
that's, and there are different criteria. They're more and more specific, and the thing is, and every year we have to redo the test to make sure to keep this label. So it's a constant work, and this makes us the most different between the level 1 and 2. I would say.
All right, thank you.
So, and the last point, and I think for me one of the most important, why Trianon is Trianon, it's thanks to the team, because a lot of them are with us since decades or many years, and we have definitely a dedicated team who knows perfectly their vines, and they grow at the same time that Trianon grows. So it's pretty beautiful to work with this kind of people, because they're just passionate, and they're working hard every day. And this makes all the difference at the end, and we see that in the glass at the end. So now let's begin with the most interesting part, the tasting. So with the first wine, the Pavillon de Trianon or Bordeaux Supérieur, we have one thought to produce what Bordeaux can make the most and the best. So we have Merlot, we have Cabernet Sauvignon, aging in a oak barrel. We can get wrong with this kind of wine, and so we want a wine pleasure, generous, greedy, consensual, to be savored in every moment, and that's the thought behind this Bordeaux Supérieur.
Okay, so where is it coming from? Which area of Bordeaux you make
so
it?
Between entre deux mers, entre deux mers.
Okay, and so this is 2018, which for us, I'll be very honest with you, in the beginning I was quite dubious about the wine when your father sent me a sample a few months ago, but we were very pleasantly surprised about the how drinkable the wine is.
Yes.
Obviously, 80% Merlot helps, and I think there's an excellent level of management for when it comes to the barrel aging.
Mhm.
And the Cabernet Sauvignon plays a good role, but it's the softness. I think that was how drinkable the wine is. Is it, in your opinion, just essentially the select, because it's coming from a large terroir, so he's selected many specific vineyards, right, from different vineyards.
Yes, exactly. At the beginning, like the one you have, it used to be Cadillac Côte de Bordeaux, which is highest appellation than Bordeaux Supérieur, but we wanted to disclassify the appellation to be a Bordeaux Supérieur, but to be at the top of the Bordeaux Supérieur. So we want like the best of the best for Bordeaux Supérieur. So the quality is definitely there.
So these are vineyards that I know your father does it with a collaboration with a friend of his.
Yes,
Who owns this large estate on
Yes.
Côte-de-Mer, and allows him to essentially cherry pick whatever he wants from the best plots, right?
Yes, exactly.
That's wines, that grapes that he buys. Yeah.
Exactly, and we go few times a year to see them, to try, to experiment different parcel, to different blending, to absolutely get the best. It's just our goal, just to make the best qualities. Other practicing grapes or no? Then, yeah.
All right. Let's go to the bigger baby.
To the bigger baby. So the Trianon 2011. So after 10 years of aging, the wine is absolutely at its peak. So absolutely perfect for drinking now. I'm going to pour on my arm. The colors, it just looks like we can see the aging and just in the color. It's absolutely gorgeous. On the nose, it's floral. We have some black fruits, black currants, raspberries, blackberries. Really well balanced, and with medium length.
It's very silky. It's very easy to drink. So I'm happy to have whomever is whomever wants to comment on it.
So how old are the vines? Around 40 years old, 30 to 40 years old. And we have some parcels that can reach 60 years old. Most like Ocamener, for example. Ocamener are pretty old.
Well, that's great.
Yeah. So we don't have a huge quantity with Ocamener, but the quality is definitely there. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for the next comments.
Yeah.
I would say that to all the team. They deserve it.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly operating at the level of a Saint-Emilion Grand Cru Classé. So it won't be the first time that your father will reach the Saint-Emilion Grand Cru Classé, because he has done that before, to turn around one estate to another one. And yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the comments.
Yeah, that's
so yeah, it'll be the second time. So, and right now it's pretty exciting just to be kind of like the outsider, because we just like the Grand Cru will try to figure out with all the Grand Cru Classé in all the wine shop. We can see all the Grand Cru Classé and Trianon right in the middle. So it's a really great position. Which part of Saint-Emilion are the wines? So we are on the southwest of Saint-Emilion. We can see just in front of Figeac. I don't know if you know your Saint-Emilion map. Just not that far from Figeac and not that far from Château Angélus. We're just really at the beginning of the appellation Saint-Emilion. Well balanced and incredible nose. Wow. Thank you.
Yeah.
So.
That's very cool.
And if you have the opportunity to decant the wine and let it breathe for like 40 minutes to 1 hour, it's even better. It just is a show like all the full potential of.
Well, I
of
have,
wine.
we're drinking the bottle that we have finished decanting basically on Tuesday morning. And because I like to try the same way that you received the bottle. So we haven't opened a single fresh bottle. Everything has been the same. And it's drinking well. I was worried it might oxidize, but not at all. The wine is holding up very well. Is it 14 hectares that you have in Trianon?
Yeah, 14.5, 14.5, and we always looking forward to getting better, to getting bigger. So we are always looking for some nice opportunities to buy some new wines and on the.
I mean, buying new wines in Saint-Emilion is not exactly.
In Saint-Emilion, yes, in Saint-Emilion.
It's not an easy task to do.
It's not an easy task. No, you have to have a nice network. But
yes,
we're always looking for some
there is an error on the leaflet when you look at it in the details that 2011 it is, and by mistake it was written 2018. So shoot me. Everything in this company is my fault. So Diane, just blame me. Okay, it's my fault. So it's 2011 and not 2018. The Chateau de Trianon. The Trianon, obviously it is the 2018 for the Pavillon de Trianon. Yeah, this is Tanguy. It's our latest vintage. Yes. Yeah, we starting late. You know, we don't like to start with Saint-Emilion Grand Cru and so I discussed it with Dominique, and we decided that 2011 drinks really well today. And once we sell out of the 2011, there are other vintages that will follow as well. So we're not going to jump onto 2018 tomorrow. That's the beautiful thing about it. So Dominique has kept back some vintages with what we can work. So
definitely. And just to let you know, the wines, if you all the vintages definitely improved since we have like three phase, 2000 to 2010, 2010 to 2015. And since 2015, we just get like another step, and the wines start to be like absolutely incredible.
So I just would like everyone to know that if you want the prices of the wines, just get in touch with us, and we will give it to you. Okay. So that's it. All right. Well, thank you very much. That was very nice, Timothée. I appreciate it. And now I'm going to try to do my magic and unmute Egon.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Egon. Here you go.
Okay, hello everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. And
what is going on here? Here we go. Here you go.
Yeah, is it okay?
Yeah, so it's fine. Yeah, I see you. Sorry, I needed to do some.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very well.
When you started, I had very bad internet, and I was kicked out a couple of times. So I hope it will hold up now. And I'll start right away with Chateau Bela, which you can see here. It's a property that I have come to look after because of my soon-to-be ex-wife's family about 20 years ago. They were able to buy back the property, the castle actually, from the village. And there had always been wine there, and they asked me to look into it and to see whether there was anything we could do to make wine at Chateau Bela. And I went, and at the time I had no idea about Slovakia, no idea about the climate, and I thought about something like snow and skiing. But actually this is situated right on the Danube River. something like 200 kilometers east of the Austrian wine growing regions. You can see it here on the map. It's on the foothills of the Carpathian Mountains. So what you have is a plain in the Danube River, on the Danube River, which is it has a heavy loess sediment, and then you have the first foothills where you find limestone soil, actually really like chalk, and that is something that when I first got there, everybody talked about loess and growing wine on loess, but actually the vineyards are on the hills, and there are places where there is no real loess coverage anymore, and it's just plain chalk. And that is something that you will always find in the wine, and something that it's when people sometimes say that the soil does not give any taste to the wine, I think this is where they could easily be proven wrong, because when you taste Chateau Bela, you will always find this very chalky character. And what you have here is 2018, which, like in the rest of Europe, is a very hot and dry year. And consequently, 2018 is a rather big wine, very powerful, but still Riesling, essentially. It has all the characteristics of great Riesling. And even so, it was a very dry and hot growing season. It has kept a very good acidity. And that's what I like in Bela. Even in 2003, where it was so hot that assimilation basically stopped for some time in August, and the actual harvest in Bela was later than our harvest in Schatzhof. Even in that year, the wine still had a very good acidity.
There's a question I got about Bela is like the fact that the color is much deeper, obviously, than your German wines.
Well, it has to do with the climate, of course, the soil, the winemaking. In Germany, we have a very reductive winemaking. And in Bela, the wines are allowed a little bit more oxidation. So it all comes together here, and it's not one single reason, but it's a lot of small little things that add up.
Yeah. And the sugar levels are very low on this one.
Well, this is dry. By any means, it's dry. Internationally dry. I think, I don't remember the exact analysis, but I think it's around 2 grams or in there.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Let's go now to here, to your home.
Well, this is about 1,200 kilometers to the west, and of course it's Schatzhof, as many of you will recognize, and of course you can imagine that the climate is quite different. If you look at the map, you will see that this is not really very far from the seaboard. Actually, it takes us about maybe 2.5 hours to drive to Antwerp or places like that. And we have a very, very strong Atlantic influence in our climate. And while Bela has already quite a continental climate, which means very hot and dry summers and cold winters, here in Schachzow, the climate is much more moderate, which means that we have cold summers and cold winters. And basically it rains all the time. And that, of course, makes it necessary for us to seek out the best potential, the best oriented soils, south-facing slopes, because you get more sun radiation, more heat, and it's quite necessary to have these particular expositions to get ripe grapes, even in our now much more warmer climate. Traditionally, the wines have been grown in the Saar and the Mosel on south-facing slopes, and usually it's said that the choice sites are very close to the river, but the Saar is a bit of an exception here, because not only Schachzhofberg, but also other great sites like Ockfener Bockstein or Eiler Kupp are not right on the river. And actually Schachzhofberg is in a side valley, and quite high up in altitude. The lowest part of the vineyard is maybe 180 meters, while at the top it's over 300 meters. And that gives you a cool place in a cool area. And that's our challenge in most years. I think before we have the, all right, I thought you had the QBA, but you have the Wiltinger Braune Kupp, so.
No, we have the QBA first. We have the QBA. I just showed the 3 labels so people can know that you have 3 different labels. But we have the QBA 18 and then the Cabinet 20.
Okay, so just as a general introduction, I have 16.5 hectares of vineyard, and I only make wine from my own grapes. We have 2 particularly good sites, of course, Schachzhofberger, where we own 8.5 hectares, and Wiltinger Braune Kupp, which is a monopole. It's 4 hectares, and half of it belongs to me and half of it belongs to the descendants of the Le Gallais family, and I lease their part. And that's why we keep the Le Gallais, the old Le Gallais label alive. It's been with us since 1954, and legally it's one property, but because in the Wiltinger Braune Kupp we have the Villanova Le Gallais family as co-owners, we keep their label. Those 2 vineyards are mentioned on the label because we think they are something like maybe our Grand Cru. But then, other than that, we have another 4 hectares in all on slopes, all on slate, in Saarburg, in Oberemmel, and in Wiltingen, and those produce the grapes for our Schachzow, which is a blend of grapes from different vineyards, and sometimes, depending on the vineyard, depending on the vintage, and depending on the quality, even casks from Wiltinger Braune Kupp or Schachzhofberg can go into this wine. And usually these are the grapes that are harvested first. And usually we do vinify the wines in stainless steel. And also usually we bottle them first. But we are not dogmatic about anything. And for instance, this year, you will taste the 2020 Schachzhofberger Cabinet because it has been bottled before 2020 Schachzow, which will only be bottled next week. And we try to make the wine every year according to what nature deals us, and Well, Akash is showing the next photo, so that's a good example. Not every year gives you the same kind of grapes. For instance, 2020 was a year with relatively little botrytis, and these pictures here are from 2019, where which is classic botrytis vintage, and where we would go about picking, trying to separate the botrytis grapes from non-botrytis grapes and make different style wines. But back to the first wine that we are tasting, 2018 Schachtshof. 2018 is like in Bela, like in most any other place, very hot and dry. There was a good amount of rainfall at the end of May, and that while it has kept us from being completely organic in that vintage, proved to be very good in the end, because even though the yields were very high, the wines had enough water and never suffered from drought. And so we've been able to make, with the exception of ice wine, every possible wine. And we have great Trockenbeerenauslese, but on the other hand, in the Schachtshof, there is almost no botrytis at all, because the general aspect of the vintage was really non-botrytis. And it's early harvest, which gives you kind of warm, ripe fruit, and fortunately we still have the Saar acidity in the back to keep it all together. And I think this wine is good to drink now. It's very appealing, but if you can be patient and keep it for another couple of years or even longer, it has the potential to improve.
So can you just very quickly explain the difference between Schachtshof and Schatzhofberg? So that
well, Schachtshof is the name of the house.
Yeah.
Historically, you can say that's a hill, and that you can see on the right-hand picture. The hill is called Schatzberg, and then the farm. No, go back to the, yes, this is the hill that is called Schachtsberg. And then the farm at the bottom of the hill was called Schachtshof. Hof is a word for farm, agricultural estate. And then the vineyard within the Schatzberg that belonged to the Schachtshof was Schachtshofberg. And if you can memorize all this,
you're good.
You are allowed to drink Schachtshofberger in the future.
And so in Schachtshof,
so Schachtshof is the name of the house,
yeah,
and we use it for our most simple wine, because it's a blend from different vineyards.
Okay.
Schachtshofberg is a vineyard. It's an appellation. It has 28 hectares, out of which I own 8.5 hectares. And only grapes that come out of this 28 hectares can be sold as Schachtshofberg.
Makes sense. Okay, so some of the grapes that don't go into Schatzhofberg or don't go into Wiltingen Braunekup will end up in Schachtshof in certain years, if you decide that they wouldn't be good enough for you to put it as a Schatzhofberger cabinet, for example.
Yes, yes.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, so tell us about this baby.
Well, that is more than 100 years old. And it's actually, it was originally owned by the Le Gallet estate. And we got it in 1954 when my father took over the Le Gallet estate. And it was, at that time, it was more advanced than the presses we used at Schwarzhofberg. And so we kept it. And we still use it for anything that is botrytis or even for ice wine, if we can make it, because it is a very powerful, but at the same time, a very gentle press. And the juice that comes out of this is completely clean, which particularly in the case of botrytis wine is a big advantage for the winemaking and for the cleanliness of the juice.
I think it's important to, obviously everybody talks about your TBAs and your Beerenauslese and the Gold Cup Auslese, is that, you know, if you, I mean, I can compare it mainly with Tokai, because Tokai has a lot of botrytis, obviously, when they make the Osu, but when Furmint and Haschlevelü becomes botrytized, they are quite generous in giving out their juice in a certain way compared to Riesling. Whereas Riesling, you need to press it and wait, and nothing comes. And at some point,
well, you see, this press is full, and it holds about let's say 700 kilos of grapes, and for 700 kilos pressing, we don't need we just need a little small jug, as you can see at the bottom, to collect
extract the juice. Yeah. So the yields are very small.
And since we are talking about 2018, I can tell you the best selection of TBA that we made in 2018. We had this press completely full, and we got 15 liters from it.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Nothing, right? So what is the residual sugar on the QBA? Around 30?
Yes, 2018 for some reason has a little bit more residual sugar than we usually have. I'd say it's probably around 35. The Wiltinger Braune Cup Cabinet that we taste, is that also 2018? No,
we're not tasting Wiltinger Braune. We're only tasting the Schwarzhofberg Cabinet 2020.
So it's about 35 grams, and usually we like the Schwarzhof to be around 30 grams, maybe even less. And but it's something, as I said, we are not dogmatic. We try to make the wine. The most important thing in the end is balance, and when some of the casks will stop their fermentation by themselves, some others need to be stopped, and then in the end it's a blend of a lot of different things, and we try to find a blend that shows a very good balance.
So explain your oak usage, because obviously it's very different from most people's imagination of when they think that how you age your wines in oak, because obviously it doesn't have the same thing like in Burgundy.
Well, we have our traditional size is 1,000 liters, and we don't like new casks. On the right-hand side top picture, you can see that on the right-hand side of the cellar, we have some new casks, and those are the first that I bought in my career. I bought them in 2008, and until that time, we have always been able to find used casks from other growers who were switching to stainless steel or whatever, and we like to buy them. But it seems that recently more and more people are coming back to oak casks, and it's our winemaking is very short. we are right now bottling the 2020 vintage, and so what we want is not the influence of the oak on the taste of the wine, but just the physical properties. If you say micro-oxygenation, you're probably not so far off.
So you keep them in there for what, 3 months, maybe?
Well, they go into cask from the press.
Yes,
We press the grapes. The juice stays in the press house for about 24 hours to settle, and then it goes into cask, and then it stays in the cask until basically just before bottling. We will start racking and filtering, and so it's anything between, I would say, around 5 months.
Around 5 months. Would you just explain to the audience the difference between the QBA and the cabinet in terms of a predicate wine versus a non-predicate wine?
Well, legally, predicate wine may not be chaptalized, which means no sugar can be added. And that is very important for us, and because traditionally in our region, there has always been a very big premium on those, we used to call them Naturwein or predicate wine. And my father never made any wine from grapes that needed chaptalization before 1973. And that was because in 71 the wine law was changed, and so it was necessary to adapt to a certain degree. But the first QBA that my father made was sold under Wiltinger Schwarzberg, which is Großlage, and under the Le Galley label. And Schwarzhof is something that we invented in 1987 because we wanted it to be the entry-level wine which we could produce in any vintage. And recently, we have not seen sugar in our cellars, but in those days, in the 1980s, years like 87, even 85, it was necessary to chaptalize quite a lot of the casks, and we wanted to have a wine that was that we could produce in any vintage.
But
so
87 was a great ice wine.
Yes, but that's the main legal difference between QBA and Prädikatswein wine. But as I said, in a year like 2018 or 19 or 20, ripeness is not the issue. And even in the Saar, recently we are finding that we are moving forward our harvest dates. 2020 actually is the third year in a row where we started picking in September. And if I told my father, who passed away in 2001, so not so long ago, that we would be harvesting in September on a regular basis, he would have called me crazy.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. All right, well, and 2020 as a vintage for cabinet, because the wine is delicious. So,
well, 2020, it's in the growing season in many ways is comparable to 2018, with the one big exception that there was no big rainfall in May, and there was actually no rainfall. And so there are two things. We have only sprayed the vineyards 3 times in 2020, and we, with a year like 2020, we could be certified organic. But on the other hand, I think that in the end, it became quite dry, particularly since the yields were pretty generous, and that's the main difference between 2018 and 20. Otherwise, you will find that they have similar flavor profiles, they have similar minerality, and this wine actually is off the bottling line. It was bottled a couple of weeks ago and sent to England right away. So it's as fresh as it can get.
Straight from the oven.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Egon. That was wonderful. And anyway, Laura, you will respond to your question about sulfur. Last question: how much sulfides do you use in your wines?
As much as possible.
There you go. That's it. Enough, Laura. That's the question.
No, it's the thing is that we are convinced that these wines should be aged, and sulfur is what helps the wines to age well. So it's like educating your children. Sometimes you have to be strict for them to turn out well in the future. And I know I've tasted this wine yesterday. It was the first comprehensive tasting that we did with our team here, and we had the whole lineup of 2020. And it was really, the sulfur is really quite strong right now, but experience tells us that that will change too.
And that's the ending photo. That if you manage to wait that long, that these mushrooms grow on it, then that's when your wine should be ready to drink. Although at your cellar, it happens in 1 year. So. All right, well, Egon, thank you very much for that. And now we're gonna move a little bit further south, but still high in altitude. We're going to Portugal, and I'm gonna unmute Tiago. So here you go. Welcome, Tiago.
Thank you very much, Akos, and hello to everybody. Wonderful to join you today.
There we go. Where are you? I don't see you, Tiago.
You cannot. Do you see me?
Now we can see you. Here we go.
Okay. Okay. Wonderful. So again, well, wonderful to be here with you and to join you all for this wonderful evening together. It's not easy today to be physically close enough as we would love. But that's the cool thing about technology. It's at least allowing us to come together this new ways, and hopefully to bring you a little bit of our beautiful Douro to London today.
Well, let's be honest with you. There were not many producers I could line up after Egon Muller, and their wines would hold up as well. So, I needed to find somebody who has the power to stand up for that.
That's very true. And being Egon, one of my favorite winemakers in the world, it's a big responsibility, but definitely a privilege as well. So I'll do my very best.
All right, let's go.
Very good. Should we pass to the first slide? Yeah. There you go. So first of all, I would love to introduce you my family. So here you can see pretty much almost everybody, his great-great-grandfather, great-grandfather, and grandfather. So as you can see, they all had their little mustaches, so traditional Portuguese family. Of course, only the gentleman, not the lady, obviously, but all with their little mustaches, and naturally also all growing grapes from the family's own vineyards. So we're pretty much a classic traditional family from the Douro Valley. We've been there for all these years, growing grapes, making a port traditionally from our vineyards. And as you know, Douro Valley was totally focused on making port for quite a few generations. That was pretty much the wine that the region was doing for many years. But as you probably all know, port is actually the production is controlled by the Portuguese government. So every year, the government sets the quantity that we can do of port from our vineyards. So we had pretty much roughly around half of the production that could be used for making port, and almost another half that nobody was doing much with it, because as we weren't allowed to use it for port, people just like do very ordinary wines for the workers, for the families. Sometimes people wouldn't even pick the grapes, which is absolutely crazy, because it's the same vineyard, so the quality potential was there, and it was being totally neglected. Until this young gentleman that you see in the middle of the picture, with a little mustache, Domingos, my father, together with some of his friends and colleagues, said that, well, that didn't make any sense. So if we couldn't use those grapes for making port, well, let's try to explore the diversity that we have in the Douro Valley to make other kinds of wines. So that was the beginning of this new generation of Douro wines, still wines from the valley, that totally changed our history, basically. So since then, it's been fantastic to explore this beautiful diversity, this one really unique landscape that allows us to make so many different kinds of things. So of course, that until the 80s, you knew it only as all the different ports that were being made, but now it's fantastic to see all the different kinds of wines that can result from here. So not only ports, but also all sorts of dry wines, whites, reds, rosés, you name it. It's for me as a winemaker, it's Disney World to work in a region like this, as allows us to make so many different things. All this diversity, as you can see, resulted in a fantastic diversity of indigenous grapes as well. So if in Portugal we have 300 indigenous grapes, only the Douro has something like 120. So it's roughly around 70 reds and 50 whites. So again, it's a world of diversity that allows us to make so many different kinds of things. And what we try to do is really to find within our vineyards which will be the right places to plant all these different indigenous grapes, so that we can really reflect its best character, basically. One of the very, very special thing also about the Douro, it's the kind of soils that we have. So as you can see here, a little bit like in the Mosel, we have slate, but not like the Mosel. It's not the mustache, it's here. I grew a little bit more, so instead of having the mustache, I have it, but it's on the same height as my relative's mustache. So it's genetics, you know how it is. It's always like that. So so as you can see, the slate soils are really tough in the Douro Valley, because we don't have a real soil. We have what we call an anthropic soil. It's literally slate. So to be able to plant a vineyard, we have to build a little bit of soil with bulldozers, dynamite. So we break the upper layer to try to create some soil where we plant the vines, and then they will have to develop the roots through the rock. And that sounds crazy, to develop through the rock, but that's the cool thing about slate, which in the Douro, as you can see in this image, in this cut that you can see over there, it's displayed not horizontally as it usually is, but it's actually displayed vertically. So that resulted from the tectonic moves. It became vertically displayed. So you can have indeed the roots developing in between layers to look for water and nutrients in depth. Of course, still very, very difficult conditions that result in very, very low yields all the time. But you have always a great depth, a great intensity, a great concentration, which is totally natural because of these very low yields. And many times you do feel the slate. And we all know that minerality is one of the most controversial things about wine, but you feel it, and it's very, very obvious in these vineyards. So the family has 6 quintas, 6 vineyards in the Douro Valley. So we only work with our own grapes. We don't buy neither grapes, neither wine. So it's all coming from the family's own vineyards. We really believe that to be able to understand and to express the best possible each vineyard, you have to work there, not one day, not 2 days. It's year after year. It's a lifetime of really learning a lot about the vineyards, and so that's why we don't buy any grapes. It's all under the family's control, basically. So it covers a wide the diversity of conditions, basically different altitudes, different temperatures, different locations within the Douro Valley. We're always a little bit closer to the northwestern border of the valley, which makes it a little bit cooler than usually people expect Douro to be. But it gives us, well, the possibility to make wines with the balance that we also love in every wine that we make. So
Gaivota was really the vineyard that propelled you to the international, I would say, fame in the wine world. And in what way? I mean, of course, it's a stupid question. You'll tell me it's terroir and microclimate and whatever, but why is Gaivota so special? You know, because it's really an amazing vineyard.
it's true, and it's not, for example, in terms of location, Akos, for example, Caldas, it's like the classic postcard landscape that you have in the Douro by the river. Gaivosa is not. Gaivosa, it's right in the border. It has actually the Marão mountain right in front of it. It's right in the border of the valley. But well, what makes it so unique and with so much character, it's a sum of things naturally. So it's the location makes the difference already. So being that northwestern border, it makes it already naturally cooler. Just to give you an idea in terms of climate, well, where we are, we still have some rain. We have roughly around 800 millimeters of rain over the year. When you move to the center of the valley, it's already 600, and when you move towards Spain, it's 400 millimeters. So basically, we benefit from this milder conditions, and also the altitude also helps a lot. So we're between 350 and 500 meters of altitude. So again, making it all the time a little bit cooler. But then you have, well, most of the vineyards west facing, which gives it many hours of sunlight. So you have cooler conditions, but with wonderful conditions also to ripe the grapes with the hours of sunlight that we get. And then you have those soils. So it's a combination of things, Akos, and we absolutely love it. It's of course that we love, and I love all the different vineyards, but Gaivosa, it's Gaivosa. It's always very,
we're drinking the young vines of the Gaivosa vineyard.
Exactly. So maybe can you move to the next slide, Akos? Can you move forward to the next slide, Akos?
Yes,
there you go. So, well, this wine that we're starting to taste comes from our flagship vineyard, Gaivosa, basically. And well, this Gaivosa, it's actually known for its very old vineyards, where you have a very, very unique kind of viticulture. We have the field blend, so we have mixed plantings of many different varieties. We have a very, very special and specific kind of viticulture, and basically these vineyards are really, really unique and have a really wonderful identity. The thing is that most of those vineyards are actually getting already quite old. So we're talking about vineyards with 80 and 100 years. So we have to think not only about preserving those vineyards, but also to guarantee that in the future, the next generations will have also the same privileges we've been having of having these really unique conditions, these vineyards with so much character and identity. So from the new vineyards that we're now planting, it results this new wine, so Gaivosa Primeiros Anos. So Primeiros Anos means first years. So it's basically the first years of production of these new plantings. But again, plantings where we're really trying to recreate those very, very special conditions that we already have in our old vineyards. So basically it's also a field blend, but already a field blend from recreated vineyards that we planted in basically in 2014. So very, very young vines still. So in the future, they will most probably be making the bigger brother, Gaivasa, but until then, they will be giving us this beautiful fruit also for making the first years, the primeiros anos.
Nice. Thank you very much. So tell us about this crazy thing.
This crazy thing is, well, it's the crazy conditions that we have. And for example, if you think that even today it's still difficult to plant a vineyard, imagine how it was 85 years ago. So it was absolutely, amazing how our ancestors were able to work in such conditions. Everything done by hand with these very, very rough soils, basically. So 85 years ago, our ancestors got to the top of the slope here at Gaivasa and decided to try to plant a new vineyard. Difficult access, difficult conditions. The soil was actually tough. The toughest that we have here in Gaivasa. So when they first planted the vines, they weren't able to go deep enough. So they weren't able to prepare the soil deep enough to plant the vines. So they started to plant the first vines. After some time, some vines started to die. And after a few more years, almost half of the vineyard was gone. So I think that if you pass to the next image, we can see already which was exactly, there you go. So half of the vineyard was dead, basically, after a few more years. So they thought it's too difficult to work here. We did our best, but we have to forget. So all the local people started to know this vineyard since then as o abandonado, the abandoned in Portuguese. So many years after already, in this vineyard that was abandoned, we were always passing by. We knew that there was great fruit, very, very little fruit, but great quality. But it had more rocks than vines. So we were thinking, okay, so we have to do something about this. We have to replant it. We've tried to replant abandonado, and everything died again because we were literally planting over rock. We thought we have to be more drastic. We'll have to dynamite the whole thing as we usually do in these kind of conditions. And it's a true story.
Bit drastic.
Exactly. And when we were just about to do it, I've asked. It was basically when I was joining officially the winemaking team, and I've asked Domingos. I've asked my father, let me just give it one last try on its own. And I have to admit, I wasn't thinking about doing a new wine, but I was just thinking about the indications that it could give us in terms of varieties to plant in the future, style of wines that could result from that specific area. And I fell in love. It blew me away, and it shows right away so much character and so much personality that we totally fell in love with it. So we didn't dynamite the vineyard. We've kept it. And actually this picture that you can see here is actually as the vineyard is nowadays. So it didn't have any replanting, as you can see. So we kept only those 50% of vines that were able to survive. And since then, since 2004, we've been doing a wine that comes specifically from this vineyard, and therefore it's called abandonado. So abandoned in Portuguese. It's a very, very dear wine to us. It's a small, ridiculous quantity that we do only on the very best vintages, basically. First vintage again was 2004. We're now on the 2017. So it's the one you're just trying the latest release that we've released very, very, very recently. We're talking about roughly around 4,000 bottles on the very best vintages, basically from this very old vineyard with more than 85 years. again, well, this tradition of mixed plantings that we have in the Douro Valley, it's something that I absolutely love, and that's why we're actually doing it again. As you've seen on the Primeiros Anos, here we have, well, what classic field blend with more than 25 grapes with many cool different grapes that nowadays are even difficult to find, that we're also trying to recover. And it has also one particularity, because, well, one of the things that that really made me fell in love with this vineyard and with the wine was how clearly it showed all the different elements that you have at the vineyard. So everything that you taste in the glass, when you're out in the vineyard, you feel it. You feel the schist, you feel the slate, you feel all the wild forest that we have close to the vineyard. You feel the freshness from the altitude in those aromatics and those balsamic flavors from the forest. But then you have also that intensity that the old vines and the low yields also provide. So it's the pure expression of the vineyard, and that's what I really love about the Abandonado. It's not the winemaker talking; it's really the vineyard talking more than anything else.
So don't be shy. You were the first red wine in the history of Portugal to get 95 points by Robert Parker with the 2004 vintage. So clearly, it was, and is still for me the best red wine out of Portugal. And you know what? Anyone wants to contradict to me, come here and we'll fight it out.
It's always good to have a good friend, well, backing you up, for sure,
Yeah.
and with long back as you have.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, congratulations on that initiative, my friend. And I have to say, I drank recently 2005, which you so kindly gave me as a gift for the birth of my daughter. And I didn't drink the one that I stashed away for her. I just drank one that was our bottle. And I have to say that wine is drinking great now. But oh my God, it has another 25, 30 years ahead of itself. It's amazing.
Sure.
It's still a baby. It's
Sure.
16 years old almost, and it's just a baby. It's incredible.
I remember even the first tacos, the 2004. Well, when the grapes were coming in and starting to work the grapes on the first days, it was really special to see how different it was from the other wines. Not better or worse, but so different. And I remember thinking, well, this is something that I would love to show in or to taste again in 30 years time or but then, well, for example, Domingos, my father, so he started he was so excited about it as well, that he started to show it around all right away. And of course that it was not easy to keep the bottles behind much longer. And fortunately the wine had such a special acceptance by wine lovers all around the world, that it was really special to see that. But it's I think that it's one of those cases that it's one of a vineyard that I would always love to show to my viticulture professors, because I love viticulture, and it's a little bit my background in terms of studies. It's more viticulture, and really to show that it's true that it's so important to study viticulture, of course, and to do our very best in the vineyards. But in the end, what really makes the difference is it's nature, basically. It's the things that you don't control, that are totally out of your hands, and that it's nature expressing more than anything else. And that's what happens here. Abandonado was the first vineyard from Portugal featured in this really nice piece that Decanter has every edition. So the Joy of Terroir. So it's a huge honor to represent Portugal there, and there we go again for the family. So after all those years of also doing dry wines, and apparently focusing more on dry wines in this new generation of dry wines, we've never stopped making port. It's our oldest tradition. It's something that it's very dear to the family, and that we've never stopped. So over the years, what we've been trying to do is within our vineyards really to find the ones that would express the best as the different kinds of ports that we wanted to make. And actually, one of our oldest traditions, and actually the family specialty, was white port. So it comes a lot from the location, again, from Gaivosa. So being in a cooler area made the family always to have a big focus on white grapes. So when we started to make our own ports with our own label, that was something that we had to do. It was really something that was very strong to us. So this is not definitely the classic white port that you used to find before. So it's a 10-year-old white port. So even the category is quite new. Well, white port with indication of age began only in 2007. So just to show you how recent this new wave is. But it's fantastic to see that well, the character was there already, the potential was there already in the vineyards. So it was really a matter of having a new eye, a new approach to this really special vineyards. So it's wonderful to recover this white port tradition. In this case, it's a white port that we actually make as a red, which means that it ferments with the skins, basically. So the idea is to have more flavors and more complexity resulting from the skin contact. And then, as you know, most of the times white port tends to be a little bit drier. And this one is actually, we stop the fermentation right in the middle. So the idea is actually to make it like half sweet, really to try to find the balance between the sweetness, the alcohol, and the overall wine. So to have it all in balance. And being a wine that comes from very old vines as well, where we have also those mixed plantings, those field blends. So we felt that it was natural that it could really benefit from some cellaring in the family cellar. So therefore, the 10 years of aging in the cellar to make this wine. So it's it takes time when you work with vines and wines. You have indeed to be very patient. You have to learn to be patient, or else you have to have a Xanax every night or every day. But
Well, let's put it that way, that knowing Domingos, this is not a 10-year-old port, is it? It's a lot more than a 10-year-old port.
it is always a little bit more indeed,
He
because
puts
it's
10-year-old on the label, but he doesn't put a 10-year-old port in the bottle, right?
there you go. Because well, it's like, well, we always try to play a little bit, well, you know, that it should be, in terms of legislation, it's an average age, the 10 years, but for us it's a minimum age instead. So for us it has to have be minimum 10 years. So this is not mandatory at all. So it's like an internal rule that we apply to ourselves, but really to guarantee that we'll have always the most character and complexity possible, basically. So
Well, I can say to the audience that when we met the first time, I was very reluctant to start working with the port, and I made a very empirical test and drank a bottle of port, went to bed and got up in the morning, and I wasn't ill. So that's how we started doing business together.
There you go. And you're still in good shape, and you
yeah, man. I mean,
kept the tradition.
that's just the way it is. So we will thank you very much for that, and we will finish up with one thing, because we started with one of the most delicate wines in the world, and we're finishing with one of the sturdiest wines in the world. So you had the pleasure to receive a gift from Aline, and I assume you tried the rosé yourself. So as a Portuguese winemaker, so what do you think about it?
It's a fantastic wine, and by the way, thanks to you and to Aline for the fantastic bottle. So it's I think that, well, wine is all about this. It's all about sharing experiences, and to have also the chance to taste and to enjoy actually Aline's wine. It was fantastic. So Aline, you're very welcome to the family of producers of Top Selection. It's wonderful to and congratulations for the fantastic wine.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. I love you and leave you. I have to go because in about 40 minutes, I'm going to get my jab. So I'm going to get my vaccination. So I have to leave you all. Thank you very much for everyone. And I wish you all a lovely evening and continue drinking. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.